Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for something embarrassing as well as messy. Imagine spending years with someone, sacrificing for them, and building your name, only to discover that you were never more than a joke in their innermost thoughts. That is precisely the storm that Papoose is currently experiencing. And Tony Rich, the man with the megaphone, yes, the same Tony Rich, whose name is mingled with equal parts loathing and horror in industry circles. Tony Rich has made a vicious claim in a surprising turn of events that seems more like a staged reality show than actual events. Papoose was never liked, respected, or even taken seriously by Claressa Shields. Rich claims that the GW simply exploited him to satisfy her personal desires. No more, no less. Additionally, this scandal is being devoured by the internet. So, let's ask the questions that are obvious. Did Papoose truly serve as a pawn in Claressa's ego-centered empire? Did Tony Rich reveal the unsettling reality that the hip-hop community has been too scared to publicly acknowledge? Most significantly, what does it say about Claressa's whole reputation as an advocate of authenticity and strength if Papoose was the only one being used? Because Papoose and Claressa's narrative isn't a love story if these degrading accusations are true. It's a warning story. Tony Rich's words cause people to do more than just. They brace themselves and listen. The man is known for bringing skeletons out of closets, turning whispers into earthquakes, and then selling tickets to the viewing. And he's not going after some shady promoter or unnamed industry executive this time. It's Papoose and, regrettably, Claressa Shields. It all began when, in a late-night live video that resembled a public execution more than an interview, Tony chose to dump receipts. According to him, Claressa never took Papoose seriously and only used him for her own amusement. It's just that line was enough to send Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter into a frenzy. Reactions and memes, you name it. Movies, forums that break down every sentence. However, as is often the case, the response on the internet was only the tip of the iceberg. Because Claressa didn't only employ Papoose, if Tony Rich is to be believed. In private, she made fun of him. She reportedly made fun of him and chuckled over their so-called connection, and privately informed friends that Papoose was really a stand-in, a body to amuse her while she concentrated on her job. And Papoose, the man who established his reputation as the rock in a tumultuous industry by relying on marriage, devotion, and his reputation. Tony claims that while Claressa twisted the story to suit her, it was kept in the dark. Claressa's name has been associated with controversy before, not to mention her constant disparaging remarks about other competitors, her public altercations with promoters, and her ability to constantly ensure that the focus returned to her. Although she is a master in the ring, detractors claim she has been engaging in a lengthy game of manipulation outside of it, using controversy to maintain her dominance. Popular. Let's get Papoose in. He was regarded for years as the devoted anchor who never allowed the turmoil of the profession to damage his standing. He was the embodiment of dedication in hip-hop, supporting Remy Ma through jail, public criticism, and everything else. However, in the realm of celebrity rumors, loyalty is not a trend. Scandal occurs. And then, all of a sudden, Papoose's story took off. Tony Rich is now asserting that the story was never about respect for one another or love. From the start, it was a setup. Anonymous insiders claim that those eerie voices, they always appear just when things start to get messy. To intimate friends, Claressa revealed that Papoose was entertaining but disposable. He thinks it's real. Reads one purported DM that is going viral more quickly than bogus Drake AI tunes. For now, I just need someone. My world is not suited for him. No one can be certain whether anything is true or not. But in the culture of gossip, perception is reality. Immediately, there were factions on the internet. According to Team Claressa, Tony Rich is only causing trouble since that's what he does best. After all, shock value is the foundation of his entire brand. However, Team Papoose hung on to every word, highlighting how the disclosures were a perfect fit with previous reports of Claressa calculating chilly approach to relationships. The so-called pleasure files followed. Yes, you heard correctly. A purported collection of voice notes and text threads purportedly showed Claressa boasting about abusing and never taking him really. A suspiciously Claressa-like voice could be heard chuckling in one audio clip, stating, "Papoose, please. He is merely a minor diversion. I have more ambitious aspirations." The consequences were immediate. Comment sections were overflowing with statements from fans, such as, "This is worse than having someone cheat on you." They're clowning this. Papoose got played and built a whole brand on loyalty. Oh no, Claressa is not the GWAT if this is accurate. She is the manipulative goat. Tony Rich, meantime, didn't mince words. He grinned at the camera in a subsequent footage, saying, "You guys think Claressa was that man ever taken seriously? Please. He was never on her level," she informed me bluntly. The only reason she retained him was to amuse herself. Tony has the ability to ignite a story whether you like him or not. And he is skilled at precisely humiliating a target. Here's the more profound query, though. What makes Papoose? Why go after someone who has largely avoided scandal for decades? Industry rumors say the answer is straightforward. He was the ideal pawn because of his reputation, the star power of Claressa enjoys drama. She gained leverage in contrast by committing to someone as clean as Papoose. The storm was her. He was the calm, but who remembers the quiet when the storm is over? The scars are too obvious to ignore now that Tony Rich has torn off the bandage. According to insiders, Claressa even made fun of it at private dinners. Papoose built his whole image on loyalty, and I broke it without even trying. One alleged witness recalled her saying, "Power is that. That's not simply savage if it's true." That is the weaponization of humiliation, as well as Papoose. He is incredibly silent. The dude hasn't posted a mysterious note, gone live to vent, or even responded with a diss tune. Instead, he appears blindsided, betrayed, and devastated. Perhaps that silence is more powerful than words. In the meantime, blogs and fans are drawing connections between this controversy and additional dubious periods in Claressa's history. Do you recall when, in the midst of a slow fight year, she suddenly became quite popular? Or when, for some reason, gossip bloggers suddenly stopped dragging her and started promoting her? All of it was calculated, Tony said. Furthermore, Papoose was really another piece of her, a chessboard. And that's where the scary part begins. 'Cause this issue isn't just about Claressa and Papoose. If she really used people as disposable props to build her company, it concerns a playbook, a system, or a pattern that Tony Rich says he has personally witnessed. By the end of the first section, when everything is quite obvious, this goes beyond sloppy rumors. This is a takedown, a purposeful humiliation meant to reveal Claressa's darker side and deprive Papoose of his dignity. The worst is yet to come if Tony Rich's claims are accurate, because they haven't yet released the actual bombshell snit yet, because they hadn't even thrown the major bombshells. Yet gossip blogs claim to have access to a wealth of files tagged as Project Puppet within hours of Tony Rich's live stream. Furthermore, if those files are authentic or even partially authentic, they depict Papoose in such a degrading light that supporters began to wonder if his career was over, because the faithful husband was a fraud. A purported email exchange between Claressa and an unidentified acquaintance was the initial disclosure. She reportedly chuckled about Papoose's picture in it. It's ideal for the story, although he appears stable, loyal, and soft-spoken in reality. He will do everything I ask of him as long as I stroke his pride. He is my puppet. Screenshots of this statement quickly became popular. The fact that it was photoshopped didn't even bother anybody. It trended for 3 days in a row just because of the humiliation element. Clown emoji-filled Twitter timelines, Slow-motion TikTok videos of Papoose sobbing, and captions like "From Loyal King to Claressa's puppet, the Papooses tumble." However, that was just the start. Tony Rich intensified his use of what he dubbed the extended cut and pleasure files. These weren't merely DMs or ambiguous statements. They were thorough anecdotes that included witness testimony, dates, and locations. One file claimed that during an after-party in Las Vegas, Claressa allegedly said to a group of insiders, "Papoose is my toy, not my man. I give him a call when I'm bored. I vanish after I'm finished." The internet went crazy. Overnight, think pieces fell. Podcasters exploited the controversy in tirades lasting 3 hours, while Papoose remains quiet. But in a culture of gossip, silence is seen as guilt, so it was nearly worse than a response. It appears that silence is confirmation. Supporters began to remark he would deny this if it weren't true. His silence indicates that Claressa truly wronged him. The financial leaks followed. A purported spreadsheet that purportedly documented wire transfers from Claressa's marketing staff to gossip sites and influencers came to light. The message lines were incriminating, and the sums ranged from $5,000 to $20,000. Highlight of the push puppet story pleasure is promoted via chloramacontrol.angle. Was the document authentic now? Most likely not. But perception is reality. And no one is scrutinizing the sources once the word proof gets out. They're sharing, commenting, and clicking. Instagram users poured comments on Papoose's old anniversary photos, saying things like, "She used, dude, complete time, you were celebrating fidelity. You were being clowned by her. This grew old like milk. Oh no. Not the GWAT turning you into a city show?" However, the industry's internal response was the most brutal. Rappers began subtweeting one after the other. "Never allow anyone to use you as a prop," one person wrote. Papoose truly went from legend to laughingstock overnight, another person wrote. Then an unidentified SoundCloud account posted a phony, but widely shared audio clip. According to the shaky tape, it was Claressa speaking to Tony Rich. In it, the female voice says, "Papoose thinks this is love. This is only a game. Please, I get what I desire." Then I go, he ought to be thankful. I even paid attention to him. Was it created by AI? Most likely. Was that important? Absolutely not. The video became viral on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and even late-night radio programs. Everywhere. The headline was identical. Claressa came to light. No one ever took Papoose seriously. At that point, the public humiliation reached a breaking point. Blogs began using running lists. Top 10 instances he was unaware that Claressa was playing Papoose. Claressa appeared preoccupied anytime his name was mentioned in previous interviews, which fans unearthed. She was seen rolling her eyes during a panel where someone commended Papoose's loyalty in one widely shared video, accompanied by dramatic music and a freeze frame. As stated in the caption, she was never feeling him. Tony Rich, however, wasn't finished. He grinned and wrote, "Y'all ain't even seen the half of it," in a subsequent post. Claressa herself informed me. Papoose served as a stand-in for her until the next major event. He was only a body to keep her occupied. He was never permanent or significant. Fans went crazy over just one phrase. Whether Papoose's whole identity was based on a falsehood was the subject of entire Reddit posts. As one observer put it, "This man made loyalty his brand." F. Tony is correct. In a single sentence, Claressa completely destroyed his identity. Then the memes appeared. The memes A. Claressa is pushing the strings on a marionette puppet that has Papoose's face superimposed onto it. Images of him holding Remy Ma's hand that have been altered to include words such as, "In the meantime," Claressa giggling in thickened text. For amusement, TikTok skits use Papoose to reenact Claressa. You could see that Papoose was involved in more than one scandal. The joke was him. And that is the harsh truth of online culture. Just exposing someone is insufficient. Must embarrass them, transform them into content, and repurpose their suffering into shares and likes. Furthermore, Papoose was currently the protagonist of a story he had not requested to be a part of. Leaked documents, however, suggested something more sinister than just pleasure or shame, which is where the plot gets even more complicated. One unnamed insider said that Claressa had employed the Papoose storyline as a component of a larger plan to maintain her reputation amid a period of decline in her boxing career. According to the insider, she didn't even give a damn about him. The goal was to remain current. She would attach herself to Papoose if it kept blogs talking. It was never intimate. It was company. At that point, fans began to make connections. The chronology seemed surprisingly accurate. There was always a new rumor regarding Claressa and Papoose whenever her career slowed down. Was it a calculated PR or a coincidence? The story was indisputable by the end of the second part. Papoose had not just been humiliated by Tony Rich, he had recast Claressa as a manipulative genius who used relationships as a tool to further her profession. Furthermore, Papoose wasn't merely incidental if the leaks were accurate. He was the embodiment of her plan. But here's that true kicker. Several blogs suggested that the last round of leaks might feature real video, not audio snippets or text messages showing Claressa purportedly clowning Papoose behind his back. This would no longer be merely rumors if those videos were released. It would end your career. And the nightmare started right there. The video is leaked. The internet had been powered by whispers, audio clips, and screenshots for weeks. However, the gold standard of humiliation is video. And the scandal blew out to a level that even Tony Rich probably didn't expect when the initial blurry film appeared. Claressa Shields was purportedly seen in the video attending a private dinner with her inner circle. The lighting in the room was low, music was playing in the background, and bottles of champagne were strewn all over the table. However, the audio was quite clear. Laughing and reclining on her chair, Claressa said, "Papoose was never taken seriously. I only had that man for me. Did you guys really think I was serious about him?" Please, even though the clip was only 20 seconds long, it was sufficient. Timelines on Twitter melted. Clown music was looped in using TikTok edits, and YouTube gossip channels released frame-by-frame breakdowns, like it was the Zapruder video. Instead of Papoose being played on HD, the captions wrote themselves. Papoose's dignity was just taken away by the Gwot. Comedy King replaced Loyalty King in an instant. The scandal ceased to be a rumor. It was evident, visible humiliation. Although Papoose had yet to make a public statement, his silence was starting to take on a life of its own. Daily updates with headlines like Day 12 were posted on gossip blogs. Papoose is still not talking. Memes depicted him as the quiet clown, using captions such as "When you discover that you were the side quest rather than the primary objective." Tony Rich, meantime, was enjoying the mayhem. Told y'all, he grinned in a subsequent live stream. "I never speak without a receipt. You have all seen it now?" He even teased with a promise of more footage. That was only the appetizer. You guys aren't prepared for the entire course? However, the controversy had now spread well beyond fallout, sponsors, and rumor logs. Claressa's sponsorships began to fall apart like a set of falling dominoes. A sportswear brand indicated they were reevaluating relationships. A discreet beauty business cleaned her face off their social media accounts. One boxing promoter even implied that certain actions would make future fight contracts in jeopardy. Furthermore, reputation wasn't the only factor. The stakes were high. Overnight, millions of dollars in endorsements, sponsorships, and appearance fees vanished. If Tony's allegations were accurate, Claressa's entire career, which was based on manipulation, was suddenly crumbling under the weight of its own deceptions. Heat, that is legal. The rumors of legal action then surfaced. There were rumors that Papoose's team was thinking about filing a slander lawsuit. Claressa's financial spreadsheets were reported to have attracted the attention of federal detectives. Boxing officials were investigating if Claressa had broken any rules, according to anonymous insiders. It didn't matter if any of it was true. She continued to trend because of the impression that she was being investigated. And after the federal go into the whether this is accurate or not, the internet becomes engrossed in the discourse as if it were a live court case, public opposition. The fans were cruel. Comments like, "She really built a whole empire on using men," were all over Instagram. Imagine being clowned like this while you're Papoose, Mr. Loyalty. Despite his machines, Tony Rich is telling the truth. The hashtags then took over. #P Papoose, the GW #Tony Rich's prop hash revealed her. Other famous people joined in as well. On Twitter, a mediocre rapper made a joke. Claressa never fought as hard in the ring as she did against Papoose. A reality star added their voice. This isn't even no more boxing. This is drama in the WWE. Papoose's quiet. It turned into its own meme. His mouth was covered with duct tape, and the caption read, "When your dignity got code." Here's the nasty twist, though. Claressa wasn't simply hit. She continued to resist. She denounced the leaks as phony in a tirade on Instagram. Tony Rich is an envious parasite, and the fans are gullible fools. She maintained that she was still the GWAT and that the files and videos were fake. "You guys can't cancel me," she yelled. "I developed myself. I'll start over." However, the internet didn't believe it. Her post was swamped with comments. "You were the voice in the video, sis." Rebuild. As a manipulator, do you mean rebranding? It's too late. The invoice sis knocked you out already. And as more leaks began to come to light, the controversy took a darker turn. Not about Papoose, but about the manipulation files. Claressa's whole playbook. Tony Rich claims that Claressa used a tactic known as the relevance cycle. She would cling to a new controversy, a new man, or a new storyline whenever her career faltered. The first wasn't Papoose. It was only the most recent. It was said in leaked notes purportedly from her camp. Can't a rumor? Allow blogs to flourish. It's just enough to keep things a mystery. Until the next wave comes, ride it. Ride it. Battle. This wasn't only about making Papoose look bad, if it's true. It was about a deliberate strategy of employing tales and individuals as expendable stepping stones. And the supporters were furious. It was ransomed by one TikTok that went viral. She therefore started a fire whenever she became silent, with a different name. Another trend? No, that's the energy of a wicked genius. Papoose was no longer merely a victim by this time. He served as a warning that public opinion has the power to destroy even the most prestigious reputations. The last bit of suspense. However, 10th most significant twist to yet. A fresh teaser video purportedly depicting Claressa and Tony Rich laughing together about Papoose started making the rounds on the internet. Rich leans in and asks, "You really played him, huh?" In the little clip, he played himself thinking I was serious. Claressa supposedly responds with a chuckle. If authentic, this went beyond simple humiliation. Real-time betrayal was captured. The internet exploded. Cheating is not as bad as this, it's mocking. Papoose must now reply. This is excessive. On camera, Claressa just wrecked herself. And that is the current state of the scandal. Papoose, humiliated but silent. Despite her defiance, Claressa is crumbling due to legal rumors, lost sponsors, and leaks. The puppet master Tony Rich is grinning.